Wow, hello. Hello? No, just kidding. Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, thank you all. Thank you, Leslie, for those kind words. And good afternoon, State Council. It really is an honor to be here at the heart, and we've just seen it, at the heart of our democracy. And it's really just thinking back, it's inspiring to think about the history in this room. And by the way, in this Union Hotel. Just for those of you who don't know, this is one of the only hotels in LA that actually has solved and has a union contract because of the strength of their people, their workers here in this hotel. So the folks who make our beds, folks who take care of us here, they're union leaders too, right? But I guess I want to just take a second and pause, just to, and I want to acknowledge that what's been going on outside this room, right? It's been a heavy week, right? I think a lot of us have been, it's been on the back of our minds about what's going on in Israel and Palestine. And I can't imagine not speaking to it. Although it's fair to say that there's really no amount of time to really express the magnitude of the grief that's going on around it. And it's devastating to think about, young people getting shot at a concert, right? It's the age of some of our kids or our students, right? Or hostages being taken, or the lost hospitals being bombed, or schools being bombed, or perhaps even an all-out war where it's going to be the civilians who are going to hurt the most, right? And I'll just say that I've always felt that as educators, we have a unique role in moments of collective trauma and despair. We're really who people look to. And we're charged with guiding our students and communities through these hard times to provide hope and understanding. And if we're to provide that hope, we have to really find it in ourselves. I've always found hope here in my union and colleagues, and really in all of you. So today, let's just send for a moment and send out hopes for peace. Salam, shalom. So let's really talk now for a minute about the work that brings us here and the hope for all of us. Over the years, thousands of educators have entered this room together. And within these walls, we made decisions and commitments that have shaped our future and strengthened public education. Our work here today is another example of our commitment to our collective fight for the schools our students deserve. And anytime I hear people speak about our union as if we're one big monolith, I remember debates like we just have. And I want to invite them here to our council to see our diversity. The Republican Facebookers and the TikTokers, right? To see that every educator in this room comes with a unique perspective and experience. And the interesting thing for me too is when I first came, this was a huge room. But the more people I've connected with on a personal level, the smaller the room has begun to feel. I've connected with many of you elementary school teachers here in this room. Educators who in this room welcome children their first days of school. And when I think about elementary school, I think about that old adage, how it takes a village. And that's what comes to my mind. And for elementary school teachers, we all know there's not enough of any prep time in the workday. And we dig deep into our own pockets to provide activities and decorations to make it work. Elementary school educators do whatever it takes for their students. I've connected with the secondary teachers. You all in here too? Yeah. You all are guiding children on the path towards making big adult decisions in their lives, often when they feel alone in this world. And it can be tough seeing all the pressures on young people, often with class sizes that are just outrageous. But then all of a sudden a burst of joy happens, out of nowhere sometimes. And maybe a student opens up and tells us about their hopes and dreams. Sometimes we even get to see them make those hope and dreams real. Secondary education teachers do whatever it takes for their students. Where are my special education teachers? All right. I just had the honor to speak to 1,000 special education teachers last weekend at our annual conference, or a couple weekends ago. And it was powerful to see these special education teachers who are really at the center of a system that has failed to keep up with the needs of our students. understaffed, and under-resourced are understatements. And yet our special education colleagues go to work every day and provide care and compassion to every student, and often even their parents. Special education educators will do whatever it takes for their students. And our school counselors and psychologists and social workers, nurses, librarians, education support professionals across California ensure our students' needs are met every day, help them fulfill their potential, and feel safe and cared for at school. Your caseloads are mind-boggling. And our students deserve more of these positions in their schools. School staff and education support professionals will do whatever it takes for their students. And what about higher ed? Y'all in here today? In fact, it's Higher Education Month this month. It's a perfect time to celebrate our Community College Association colleagues with 1.9 million students at 116 community colleges. It's the largest system of higher education in the country. And hopes and dreams and careers are built thanks to our CCA colleagues. CCA faculty will do whatever it takes for their students. CCA faculty will do whatever it takes for their students. And so while our work days may look different, I think we're united by common threads. All of us, every last one of us, are driven by our incredible connections to the students we serve and the colleagues we work with. There's nothing we won't do for our schools and our students. So State Council is a special place for our union to come together throughout the year and recommit to these critical fights. We engage in debate, as we've seen. We all become experts in Robert's rules. Sometimes not so much. And we're different people facing all kinds of different challenges. And we definitely don't always agree. In fact, I have a visceral memory of one of my first state councils. And it was at the height of the recession. And we were having layoffs across the state. And people were feeling stressed, angry, and looking to their union for a path forward to protecting their jobs and public education. You could feel the energy and emotions in this room. It was like witnessing an eruption. But in this room, we worked through it. And our union is stronger. In fact, I think it's fair to say that a real test of a union is in the strength, is in the passionate disagreements we have, all the way down to our local chapters, even our work sites. It shows that we care about each other and we trust each other, even when we don't agree with each other. This, my friends, is the power of a union. It's a powerful union that's big enough for 310,000 educators across California. We respect each other, we work through our differences, and we get work done in this room. And it's awe-inspiring to think about what we've been able to get done over the years. The critical decisions made that we've strengthened our union in public education. Now, as we see, like this morning, we make recommendations on candidates and causes. But what's really about is the power behind these. And so when I see people deeply engaged in conversations around those decisions, like we had this morning, I'm proud to be part of this union. When I see our MBIs, for those of you who speak of, by the way, for new, how many folks are new here today? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Fantastic. So we have MBIs that guard our work, and those can also be subject to fierce debate. So while we have amazing political power in Sacramento, truly the only way we win what we deserve there is when our work here is connected to lived experiences of our members. For example, y'all the last few years have been keep bringing up around this teaching performance assessment, these TPAs, and how they're actually harmful in preparing educators, and how these type of tests are keeping professionals of colors out of our profession. This is the opposite of what we need to be doing at the height of a staffing crisis in our schools. We've also talked about the need to address our outdated and dysfunctional family leave system for educators in California. This profession is 2/3 women, and our leave system for having children is ridiculously insulting. So I'm proud to announce this year we have 2 pieces of sponsored legislation in Sacramento. And one of them is on getting rid of the TPAs, and the other one is about paid leave for maternity leave. So these come directly, this is the power of what comes out of State Council, of working together at State Council. And when you think about all that we can accomplish together, it's not so surprising to see our opponents challenging our union strength. In fact, we had a few folks, like 30 folks outside this morning, protesting against us. Their signs say, "Leave our kids alone." How do you tell us to leave your kids alone? What do you think we do all day? We're with your kids all day. We're fighting for your kids. Don't tell us to leave your kids alone. That's what we fight for. That's what we do. That's what we commit our lives to. So it's not surprising to see this extremism popping up around the state. In fact, this extremism is resourced by those seeking to dismantle public education. And they've zeroed in on our schools and our unions. And by the way, that's why we say we don't record things here. Because last year we had a couple knuckleheads who were here undercover, these right-wing bloggers, not TikTokers, bloggers here trying to get us to say stuff to try to go after our union. That's why we don't record things, because we're under attack. Just this school year, we've seen a range of attacks. They're trying to ban pride flags, attacked our LGBTQ plus students, particularly trans youth, our most vulnerable youth. Removal of curriculum related to telling the truth about our history and our collective action against racism. Who bans books today? Fascists ban books, right? And broader attacks on our unions and our collective bargaining. Now, it won't surprise anyone in this room to hear the politicians pushing these resolutions in our communities are not who they proclaim to be. They say they're concerned parents. We know better. I've been to these meetings. I've seen these folks going, making the rounds. These people are outside extremists that don't even live in our district or community. They say they love liberty. We know better. Those who understand and love the idea of liberty will never seek to erase a history or ban a book from a shelf of a library. Members of communities who care about each other don't threaten and bully their way through school board meetings. And they don't demand policies that will put children in harm's way. Our communities do not need policies that pit parents against educators. They know who know and trust their children. We need school board members who will focus on improving learning conditions and bringing resources that every student deserves. Now, these fights may not be on your front doorstep, but they are likely coming. And it's important to know that while these feel local, like local struggles, they're not. They're actually part of a larger attempt across our state and the nation to destabilize the funding of public education. And we know it's already been destabilized for decades. And that's because we've been giving billions of dollars in tax breaks to ultra-rich landowners and investors over the last 40 years, thanks to a loophole in property taxes. Prop 13 passed in 1978. They called it a tax break for grandmas. But now more than, thank you. But now more than ever, it wasn't about grandmas and losing their houses. It was about these giant corporations refusing to pay their fair share. Corporations like Disney and Chevron who are paying tax rates for the 1970s, while the rest of us and our students shoulder the burden. This was the single biggest redistribution of wealth from working folks and students and our families and us to the biggest corporations in the history of our country. And it's gone on for decades. And it wasn't something that happened, by the way, on accident. Our school system is broke on purpose. And it wasn't just our school funding that has been devastated. It's all our public services, our libraries, our parks, our public education. The education system, we had built an education system in this state that had guaranteed free UCs, free Cal States, free community colleges. The best, lowest class sizes in the nation were in California. And folks, we built that for migrants fleeing the Dust Bowl. Mostly white migrants fleeing the Dust Bowl, fleeing the Great Recession and coming to California. But then in the 1970s, that funding was stripped from our schools in the middle of the greatest immigration to our state. And folks used language that was both coded and uncoded to say, we're not going to fund those kids. The racism at the core of our lack of funding must also be made perfectly clear so that we can undo it. A few weeks ago, I read an article in the New York Times that hit me. The headline started with a question. It said, who runs the best schools in the U.S.? Now, I was surprised to see that the answer that they gave was the Defense Department. What's it? Wait, what? Give me a second here. Because you think about it, the article talked about the incredible student outcomes of these schools, of children in military families, which, by the way, are some of the most racially integrated schools in this nation, right? But there's other takeaways that caught my eye. First of all, the teachers are paid above the average in their communities. Secondly, they have their own funding system. These schools are well-funded and well-stocked. They don't have GoFundMes and donors choose for pencils and papers or for chairs. The other thing, and just equally, if not more important, every student has at least one parent with a full-time job and health care benefits because they're in the military. They come to school with their basic needs met at home. So long story short, there's a safety net for these students, schools, and educators. It's not lavish. These schools are not lavish. It's not some rich private school. But it's not outside the realm of possibility for us and what we deserve. So the folks that attack us in public education, they don't want us making those connections. They want to keep us disconnected from each other and our communities to keep their system going. The corporate billionaires think that they can fund the think tanks to pump out boilerplate hateful resolutions and candidates to bring chaos and fear and hate to our communities. These fierce fights are about the heart and soul of public education and unions. Folks, they want us to be scared. They want us to be exhausted. They want us to quit. In fact, if they had their way, we wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be standing here because they don't want us to have a union. The same corporate billionaires who benefit from inequality look at public education and they see dollar signs. But more importantly, they see that if they could take on public education and create this chaos, like these folks who are showing up at these school board meetings, it raises a level of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about all public institutions. But clearly, they do not know us. They don't see your grit, your compassion, your resolve. They don't see after long days and how you dig deep and go back to school the next day and make it work for your students. They don't see the joy and love that we feel for our profession and our union. They've also failed to see the relentless corporate greed has actually united working people. Unions are more popular than we've been in decades. We've seen massive support for historic strikes, hotel workers, auto workers, writers, actors, healthcare workers, and half of those strikes have happened in California. We're all showing the world together what it looks like to come together and fight forward for the fairness that our society and we all deserve. Now, many of you were at the Summer Institute a few months ago when we had the co-president of the Hotel Workers for Unite Here come and talk to us. And I thought it was really important what she said. She said that her members who are on months-long strike now, where they get their inspiration is from us. They get their inspiration from us and seeing what their teachers did for them and their students when we went on strike, when we went on struggles. That's where they get their inspiration. That's who we are. We're inspiring others. We teach unions members striking are actually still teaching. Union members, every time we stand up for justice, we're still teaching. And they know that education is one of the most powerful issues to struggle around, and that our union is uniquely situated to lead a pushback. So standing here today, I can't help but feel an urgency-fueled hope. 800 educators in one room will do that. And I know there's nothing we won't do for our students. And in our union, we'll do whatever it takes for each other. We just need to march in the same direction to make it happen. So throughout the state, we're seeing collective actions winning. Unions are doing what we do best. We're bringing people together. We're seeing that across all races and backgrounds and gender. We all want the same thing. Great public schools for every student. We all want our students to be safe in our schools and feel supported and have the freedom to pursue their dreams. In Temecula, Orange, Chino Valley, Rockland, Dry Creek, Anderson Valley, our locals are making it clear what to do when these extremists come to town. You find your local teachers union. You find your community partners. And you work together to take back our school boards. In fact, I just want to let you know that this afternoon, some of those leaders are going to be leading a panel, I think it's here in this room, from 4 to 5:30 tonight, about talking the lessons learned, about what they've learned about these struggles and how we use these struggles to actually get stronger. You should hear their stories and how they're fighting back. It's incredible, inspiring to see how their chapters are not only staying strong, but getting stronger day by day. So if your school board has not been overrun by these outside extremists, stay on the offense and continue to elect champions for public education and unions. Folks, we have 2,000 school board races next year. 2,000 school board races next year. And that is an opportunity. There is no one who can beat us when we're organized around those. This is an opportunity for us and for each other and for our communities to come together and engage in a collective acts of resistance to those attacking our public schools and us. First and foremost, we also need to uplift a vision for public education that's worthy of investment, to help galvanize the public and turn around decades of disinvestment. Many of you all have seen the commercials where I'd say, there's something exciting happening in California schools, right? And I do that for that reason. We're doing that for that reason. We need to uplift a model that we have something to fight about. We don't want to defend the status quo. We want what our students deserve. So a beautiful model for public education is the promise of community schools. They're really our most powerful, and they're not a panacea, and I don't ever want to make it sound like they are. They're hard struggles, and our districts will blow this if they try and do it on their own. But they're really our best example of building coalitions that elevate democratic decision-making, racial justice, and the needs of our students. These schools are rooted in shared decision-making and allow for educators, community groups, parents, and students to sit at the same table and determine the programs, curricula, and how the resources are spent. And that's a vision, by the way, that's not an urban vision, a suburban vision, or a rural vision. That works in all of our schools, everywhere across the state. Folks, we're so blessed to have this union. So few workers have a space like this. So few workers want this, and they don't have it. A place to come together to think this stuff out, to think about how we stand together and protect and strengthen our public institutions. But I just want to say there's something we need to acknowledge. Our union, and we talked about it earlier, we're one of the strongest state unions in the nation. But we also have to start with the fact that if we go to our work sites, our union is not alive like it needs to be at every one of our work sites. And all these great, beautiful struggles I'm talking about, the fight for funding, the fight for better working conditions and winning school board races, people aren't going to believe in that if they don't have confidence in our union where they work, where they live, where they go every day at their school. I learned this lesson decades ago now as a site rep. I was a site rep, and they're like, Goldberg, you solved this. I'm like, no, that's not how it happens. But real quick, we learned that even if anyone could solve every problem, we were actually stronger if we solved them together. Because we became connected to each other, accountable to each other at our school, and willing to put it all on the line for each other. And I also learned that real leadership is providing space for democratic discussion. Like we have here today, we should model that at our school sites. And then fearlessly implementing whatever we come up with as a matter of principle. It's critical, really, that every site rep approaches their organizing at their work site with the fundamental understanding that every colleague is the union. The union is not some third party. We are the union. Our ability to win transformative funding for our public schools and fight back against extremism, and I know we can do it, but it's really dependent on us building the power of our work sites to that struggle. When we organize, we have the power to win each and every one of these school board races. Believe me when I tell you this, we can win. This is a small group of people pushing an ultra-extremist idea that the public will trust us and believe us on this. This year, we're putting our money where our mouth is, and Erica talked about this morning. CTA is committed to ensuring that our local chapters have the necessary resources to engage every member and build power in every school site across California. Your CTA board is so invested in these local chapters, we set aside $60 million for the next 2 years to provide release time for every single president in this state. Every single president will have access to release time. If you have 0%, you could get 20. If you have 20, we'll match it to 40. There's a whole program. 40, we'll match it to 80. Half of our locals have less than 100 people, right? And by the way, this release time is to do one thing. It's not to have release people to go have endless meetings with districts, their superintendents. It's to release time for people to be at school sites building this infrastructure. We know that this will be a particular help to small and medium-sized chapters. So union presidents with more release time will have the power to not only help the union running every day, but moving forward, getting stronger by the day. I've been excited to visit with presidents all across the state at leadership conferences and meetings and trainings. So we've also, as the CTA officers and the board, committed to meeting more often with presidents. Presidents are the backbone of our union. And we need to ensure that we're engaging every local chapter in the same way every local chapter engages with every site rep. This is our plan to build a strong CTA. This is our plan to fight back against decades of disinvestment in us and our students. I'm really so grateful to be in such a powerful and joyous space. With our very own band for the first time. Full of musicians, providing music for us all, thank you. It reminds me of that reminds me, by the way, one of my favorite quotes. It says, if I can't dance, I don't even want to be part of your revolution. That's an Emma Goldman quote, by the way. Thank you, beautiful. It reminds me of all of you, that even in the worst hours, in the toughest times, we could still find joy in our work, in our students, and in the potential for our future. We laugh together and we work together no matter what. In fact, they're getting ready. The band wrote a song for us. They wrote a song for us called Stand With Me. So will you stand with me to fight to reimagine our public schools? Will you stand with me to fight for the contracts I help keep educators in the profession? Will you stand with me to fight against racism, sexism, and homophobia? Will you stand with me to take on corporate greed? Let's stand together for our union. Thank you so much, State Council. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Onward and upward.